So good afternoon and welcome to the seventh module for the CCI Clearance Preparedness Program. The next module will be on September 10th from 1 to 2. We will have a guest speaker who will be announced soon. You all have received the calendar invites and you'll receive 3 reminders prior to the module. I know I say this every time, so I'm so sorry to bore you all, but please sign into the Zoom modules with your first and last name. There are a few that are still not doing this request. There might be someone with the same name as you, or you're just putting in your first name and it's hard to differentiate. I want to make sure that you guys receive attendance credit for your badge. Individuals who do not register and received links from friends will not receive a badge because I don't have your emails to give you one, and because you did not complete the registration process. As always, please reach out to me if you have any questions regarding attendance and module logistics. I will now turn this over to Dr. Eric Berger to get started on today's module and introduce our guest speaker, who is Jimmy Benoit, Vice President of the Cybersecurity at PBS.
Well, thank you very much, Kendall, and thank you, Jimmy, for joining us today. Just a little bit of background here. So, Jimmy leads cybersecurity, networking, and privacy programs at PBS, and he drives their strategies, which is a thing that you'll see at that level of cybersecurity responsibility. It's more than just watching the attacks come in. Uh, he did start in the Army, was there for 8 years, and after he left the military, he's worked in numerous roles across a number of companies. He has a bachelor's of science in informatics and a master's in business administration, and I can endorse that career trajectory. But another thing, and something we can talk about a bit later, but he holds over a dozen professional certifications in cybersecurity and IT. And so I'd love to get your take on the value of those certifications. And as well, another thing I would heartily endorse people to consider, he sits on the nonprofit board as a director and volunteers kind of to do what you're doing now, helping students and service members progress in their careers. So thank you again, Jimmy. And yeah, tell us a bit of your story.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me. I'm glad to talk to everybody here today. So as Dr. Berg had mentioned, I started my career in the Army, went to college at the same time, got in and did that for a while, moved all over the world and some really wonderful places and not as wonderful places, but overall a great experience. It was really in the Army that I got some of my initial certifications, and then most of them have been earned since I've gotten out. I've transitioned out of the military where I was cleared, had a clearance, and did some cleared work, moved to the private sector, utilized my clearance a little bit. It got moved from the Department of Defense to the Department of Energy. Didn't use it as much as I did when I was in the service. And then in recent years, I haven't used my clearance at all. I don't even have a clearance at the moment because I don't need one. So I've done both the cleared side and the non-cleared side, and I can speak to the differences between those two.
Yeah, no, that's great. And also, I do want to remind the students, feel free to type away in the Q&A box, and we'll do our best to answer the questions that pop up. So, yeah, in fact, let's talk about life post clearance because that's I guess closest to where you are now. I mean, did you find that having had a clearance is helping you in your current role or in other roles you've had after the Army?
I think in a way, yes. So I think having the clearance exposed me to things that built the foundation of how I operate as an individual. And I think that foundation lends itself well to not being cleared, right? I think as I think through, intelligence and just that process, that's probably experiences you wouldn't necessarily gain if you didn't have a clearance, right? You just wouldn't be exposed to that world. But I think a lot of those concepts and a lot of those practices translate really well and lend themselves really well to the work in an uncleared environment.
That's right. Actually, I was wondering, is PBS, are you part of InfraGard or any of those
I'm a
information sharing
member.
programs?
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
a member of InfraGard for a long time, and there's a few others out there as well.
Hmm. Well, actually, yeah. Could you talk to how and again in the more in the private sector, because in the public sector, there are formal programs of information sharing and obviously classified briefing and stuff. What do you see in the private sector?
So there's a lot of ISACs, ISAC, and I always mess up that acronym, but it's information sharing communities basically. And they typically have a different ISAC for each industry. So you'll have a finance ISAC, media and entertainment ISAC, energy ISAC, and those ISACs exist to provide structured and unstructured kind of intelligence, indicators of compromise to the community at large within that specific vertical. So within the energy ISAC, you may have a feed where you get access to certain information about threats facing that particular industry, right? In the energy sector, here's a specific targeted attack that we see against water treatment facilities or downstream natural gas pipelines and that sort of thing. So that's very common in the private sector where I am now, that type of information sharing. There's no shortage of entities out there. So today there's the North American Broadcasting Association, and they've got a cybersecurity working group. There's just a lot of cybersecurity working groups across different organizations in every industry and every vertical that you could possibly find yourself in that contribute to the overall profession and keeping everybody secure.
That's right. And they do more than, or some of them, because it does depend on the sector, but some of the ISACs will do more than a threat feed. Have you participated with like the educational components or the get-togethers, things like that?
Yeah, yeah. So you're absolutely right. Some of it is just a feed where you just get information, but others, yeah, networking events. So really building the community and the collaboration between entities is really helpful. Yeah, that's it depends to your point.
Mhm.
Some are more heavily resourced than others. Everybody's trying, and I think whatever industry you're in, being a part of the ISAC within that community is always helpful.
Yeah, yeah. The financial services ISAC, they do have a bit more resources than the MS ISAC, the
Yeah,
states. That's right.
yeah, exactly.
Um, we did mention that you have a number of certifications. And again, we have people on the call, they're varying from community college to they've done their 20 years in the military in uniform and are, now transitioning. Can you talk to, the different kinds of certifications, what you're finding useful as a VP? If you're hiring people, what would you be looking for? Things like that.
Yeah, certifications are necessary, I think, especially earlier on in your career. I think a certification alone doesn't make you immediately hireable, but it's kind of that first level to get you in an interview. So to your point, when we're hiring, I would usually hire more senior people where I am today. But even on the junior side, security plus kind of low hanging fruit. Anything that we post, right? We usually get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications, and it's just overwhelming and it's too much to look at. So some of the low hanging fruit is certifications, right? You could go into your applicant tracking system and say, only show me people with a Security Plus or a CISSP or a CEH or any number of certifications, and it's just a quick way to go from 500 people down to 150 people, and then from there you have to get a little bit more creative. So getting the certification is very important. Not having any doesn't mean you won't get a job. I know plenty of really sharp practitioners who don't have certifications active, but they have enough experience behind their belt. So if you have the experience, maybe you don't need the certs, but if you don't have the experience, the certs could be really helpful. There's a gentleman, Paul Jeremy, Paul. Jeremy, I think is Jerimy, and he used to run a website that showed a beautiful overlay of professional certifications within the cybersecurity space, hundreds of them, but it was an interactive kind of map of if you want to get into offensive security, here's the beginner, the intermediate, the expert. You can click into them, find all the prices. So that's a great resource to look into. Um, as I'm looking for senior folks, SANS Institute is stellar.
Mhm.
I'm taking another SANS course right now, as a matter of fact, even though I'm not a practitioner these days. It's just all helpful. Learning anything is helpful. Any certification you do, it will lend itself to what you're doing as an individual, even if it's not directly related to what you're currently doing in your job.
Oh, fantastic. And actually, that's a good point. When you got your certifications, did the companies pay? Did you pay out of pocket? Were there other programs to help you get them?
Yeah, a myriad of different things. So for transitioning service members, there's a handful of different resources. So if you are transitioning out of the military, lots of resources there. I've gotten some of my certifications through that when I was first getting out of the military. I got some of my certifications in the military. I got some of my certifications through employers. I've paid out of pocket for some certs. And then employers often have an educational reimbursement program. So usually, if your employer offers it, it's about $5,250 per year. And I've leveraged that for certifications as well. And you just need to talk with your HR and figure out the details. But usually there's a way to apply those funds.
Oh, great. And I'll do the pitch for the Commonwealth does have a program more for, well, again, it's, early career people who don't even have a job yet, so that, it's hard to come up with the money. But also people transitioning mostly through the community colleges where they will pretty much pick up the tab for the class. And some of the programs actually will help pay for some of the certifications. Of course, we're not giving money away. You need to pass the certification to get reimbursed,
Yeah.
but they're not inexpensive. Some of them can be a few $1,000s just to take the test.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a free certification for now through CIS or through ISC squared, which is the
Mhm.
organization that does the CISSP, which is often considered like you need the CISSP at some point in your security career. They have a new entry level certification, the MCC, I think it is,
Mhm.
and it's they're offering it for free for the first million individuals. So I would definitely, if you're at the beginning of your career, look into that and see if you qualify and if you can take advantage of that opportunity.
No, thank you. That's great. And we'll be sure that's on the recording or transcript. Um, how did you get into cybersecurity?
Interesting. I think almost a little bit by accident. I don't know. It's hard when you're young and you're trying to figure out what to do. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But even right going from high school to college, I toured the universities and I applied to a bunch of programs and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I had an old MS-DOS computer and dot matrix printer. So I fiddled with that, throughout high school. And I kind of liked the computer thing. So I found this program. It was a brand new program at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. They were calling informatics, which is kind of like computer science, but with a multidisciplinary focus. So I said, well, that's interesting. So I went into that path and took some cybersecurity courses and ended up specializing, getting my cognate, my focus area in cybersecurity at the same time. And then went into the military, had a lot of exposure there as well, and just kind of kept going down that path.
Yeah. So when you started, did you think, oh, I'm going to go for a cleared profession and I need to do this, that, and the other thing? Or how did you come to either desiring or being told you needed a clearance?
Really the military. So I think from a very young age, both my grandfathers were in the military. So that was kind of something that I looked toward as something I wanted to do. And then I got to high school and I did junior ROTC, and that further
Mhm.
just moved me along the path. And I got to college and got an ROTC scholarship. So just kept going on that path. And then once I got into the military, I got a job basically in the military that required it. So yeah, just the military all the way.
That's right. That's right. Now, did like your grandparents talk to you about the process, or did you have any, were you like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that when I was a freshman?
I was, yeah, I didn't really talk to my grandparents about it at all. No, definitely nothing clearance wise. I don't even know if they had clearances or how it worked because they were
Mhm.
both World War II and just
Yeah.
different at that time, I'm sure. Um, but yes, kind of on it my own. I remember my first interviews when I was getting my clearance and they have somebody come down in a suit and they've got a badge. It feels weird. It's like, wow, this is a little intimidating. You've got this agent who's asking you all these questions, and some of the questions are intense, right? I'm going to make it up, but illustratively, like, have you ever conspired against the United States government? You're like, no, I promise I haven't. Are you affiliated with any terrorist organizations? You're like, no, I promise you I'm not. But it's just the nature of the questions feels a little bit intimidating, especially the first time you've ever done it.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, a thing that comes up, have you needed a poly?
I did not know. No, I
Yeah.
didn't have to do a poly,
Okay, yeah.
but that's a
Because
whole nother level.
people, yeah, yeah, it's uh, well, by design, generates anxiety amongst the audience here.
Yeah, yeah, the polygraph is a process. I know many of people who have done it. I did not have to, and I never
Mhm.
volunteered to have to do it just because it
That's
is
right.
stressful. But you kind
That's
of
right.
go in and they baseline you, right? So they'll take all of your measurements and you're in a stressed state and they'll walk you through it and they're very patient, they're professional. They'll work to calm you down and like, all right, just breathe normally, like try not to don't freak out. We know you're a little bit sweaty, but they baseline everything. So you're going to walk in nervous, which is going to establish a baseline, and it's not going to be detrimental to your overall kind of results.
Right, right. Um, well, do you have any, advice for, students who might be thinking about a career that would require a clearance?
Yeah, I think one, do it. It's great. It'll open up a lot of doors, right? It'll open up doors you're not even aware exist today, I'm sure. If you're very close to the process, a couple months out of maybe applying for a clearance, start to organize your life. You're going to have to fill out what's called an SF-86, and that is a very long form that's going to ask you a lot of questions, right? Please list all of your addresses from the past 10 years. And maybe it's easy, maybe it's one place, or maybe you've moved all over the world and you need to gather that stuff. They're going to ask for, name a couple of friends that you had in each location. And now you got to think back, oh, okay, so when I was in Las Vegas, I was here. And then when I was in Texas, I was there. So depending on how much you've moved around, you just want to organize all that information to make it quick. Second thing, which everyone's going to tell you, just don't lie about anything. Be very honest, very transparent. They will find out. So just be honest. Don't lie about anything.
Yeah, 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 believe me, that's the message we keep hammering home. Uh, and depending on the message we keep making is, depending on the agency, having a more colorful past is not a, you're not going to get it. On the other hand, drug use when you're applying to the DEA, yeah, they kind of frown on that. FBI too.
Yeah.
They are kind of the never evers.
Yeah.
But there's this, that I'm familiar with a branch of the military where, the head of that branch basically said, I'd rather have someone who tried marijuana once and didn't like it than someone who's never tried it. So, we always talk about, and actually, this is a good question, Ray. Talk to your FSO. Did you have,
Oh yeah.
discussions, get advice, anything from the facility security officers that you,
I didn't too often know, but that's a
yeah.
good point. If you've got access to your FSO, definitely ask them questions. I think I have a pretty boring life, so I didn't worry too much when I was going through the process. Still a little bit stressed out just because it's the process, but yeah, I never had to. But good point. Talk to the FSO for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know, like actually we still don't have any questions yet, but folks can feel free anything that comes up. I think we've answered one question that keeps coming up over and over again are things like I've got a spouse with a criminal record, or
Hmm.
I, I'm a naturalized citizen. Can I still get a clearance? And I don't know if you have any experience with people
I would
in those
say,
situations? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I th everything always depends. So I can't do like a 100% yes, you're good. I would say I've seen both of those instances that you mentioned not be a problem.
Hmm.
One thing that I've seen been a problem numerous times is debt. So financial problems. So I've seen not infrequently somebody is filing for or has filed for bankruptcy in recent history, and they're going for, a top secret poly, and it can cause a little bit of challenges during the clearance process. And my understanding of that is you could be susceptible to
Hmm.
foreign agents trying to influence you, right? If you're riddled in hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and now a foreign operative comes and says, "Oh, that they work you over a long period of time, and you've just got that vulnerability." So I've seen that be a point of discussion with people in the past, more so than the naturalization or a relative has a criminal history and those sorts
Hmm.
of things.
Yeah. Well, one thing that, as we're, building a community and, colleagues are applying for clearances. So, less about your application, but what if you're the contact? Someone puts you down as, yep, they knew me over the past, 10 years when I lived wherever, whatever. And the person with the badge comes and talks to you and says, "Hey, Jimmy, Eric put you down as a reference." What do you say? Did you just stick to the facts? Do you elaborate on things? What would be your advice there?
My MO is always just stick to the facts. I just my own personality, keep it short, keep it to the facts. Don't just talk for 30 minutes about everything when you guys were kids. Just answer the question they're asking. And if they have another question, they will ask you another question. To that point, I thought about mentioning this earlier. When you go for your clearance, depending on what clearance you're going for, they will interview the people that you wrote down on your SF-86, and then they will ask those people who are two additional people that know this person, and then they'll go talk to those people. Then they'll ask each one of those people. So when I was going through the process, they were knocking on the doors of my neighbors when I was, 6 years old, and the neighbors calling my parents and saying, "Hey, some agent just knocked on my door asking about your son." And like I
Yeah.
barely knew these neighbors, but so you're going to put down and on the paper people's names, and people may put your name down, but they may not have even put your name down. So if somebody knocks on your door saying, "I got a questions about Bill," you're like, "Well, I haven't spoken to Bill in 15 years. Why would he put me down?" Bill might not have put you down. Bill might have put Susie, and then Susie told them about Jill, and Jill told them about you. So you're just three layers of separation away. But just answer the question. Don't say more than you need to say. Be honest, of course, because you don't want to lie to an agent who's doing their investigation for a clearance.
Great. If we can get back to like your day job, I mean, what is cyber look? I mean, public broadcasting. What's cyber and public broadcasting?
Well, everybody has a need for cybersecurity these days, right? There's different threat groups and adversaries who have different motives for doing different things. There's different hostile intent for different reasons. The day-to-day varies significantly depending on what you're doing. Cybersecurity is a very broad field where you can do threat intelligence, malware analysis, just be a security analyst, security engineer, management, and I'm content engineering. There's so many different jobs, identity access management, GRC, so many different jobs. So the day-to-day will be very different. Um, I would say um, my day to day is meetings. So if you aspire to be in management, you'll have a lot of meetings and a lot of PowerPoints, and that will be most of your life, it feels like. But earlier on in your career, you'll probably be hands-on keyboard, and whether it's highly technical, right? You're a security analyst investigating logs within your SIM, or you're a GRC analyst and you're writing policies. You're going to be hands-on keyboard building out those core components that make up the broader cybersecurity program at your organization.
Yeah, no, great. And since you've done both, in the uniform military and very much not, or I guess you're in your uniform, the button-down
Yeah.
shirt. Do you see much difference, or do you find that, the role of like a cybersecurity analyst or GRC analyst or manager, or, there are similarities, differences?
A lot of similarities, a lot of differences. I think even the similarities are we use the same lexicon, the same terminology, right? I started my career in the Army where we use terms like adversary and tactics, techniques, and procedures. And now I'm in the civilian world, and everybody in cybersecurity uses that same terminology. So that's a similarity. Differences, I think there are going to be differences between a cleared job and a non-cleared job, but there are also differences between just unclear jobs and unclear jobs and clear jobs and clear jobs. I think when you work in a cleared environment, one thing that I see often is you will usually be hyper focused on a specific aspect of the program. Whereas on the uncleared side, a lot of times there's cybersecurity shortages and you're going to wear 10 different hats and you're going to do 10 different jobs. So you've got 10% of your time on this and 5% on that and 15% on this. And I think that's fun and exciting. If that's what you're looking for, the uncleared side may interest you more. If you want to be hyper focused on a specific aspect of the job, the cleared side might be something that you're more interested in because you'll be afforded that opportunity to be hyper focused. And that's not to say you won't have that on the uncleared side, just a general kind of statement from my observations.
Yeah, no, yeah, that something for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I can take more. Actually, nope, I don't have from the audience, but yeah, what kind of advice would you give? And I'll, queue up two questions for someone, just starting out versus, the person who's transitioning careers.
I'll start with the person transitioning careers. One thing that I really enjoy seeing when I'm hiring is a different background from cybersecurity. I think one of the best cybersecurity teachers, instructors that I ever had, super technical, super sharp. He was an English major and had that background. And then one of the sharpest people I've ever had on one of my teams, he was a philosophy major and he had a different background. And I tell people all the time, if you're not coming from a technical background or a cybersecurity background, don't discount the skills that you have. Um, if you're a liberal arts major, you have very critical skills in cybersecurity. You can probably communicate really well. You might be able to write really well. Those are skills that we need in the profession. We've got a lot of people who are extremely technically sharp. They can solve any technical problem, but maybe writing reports is not their forte, or maybe presenting in front of the executive team is not their forte. We need both of those, so don't discount what you're bringing to the table. Very important. If
Mm.
you're just starting off your career and you don't have any background yet, um, don't don't feel like you need to specialize in one thing right now. I would recommend, just learning a little bit about everything and just going with the flow and figuring out what interests you. I see a lot of people who hyper focus, before they started their career, I will do malware analysis. Like that's the only thing I want to do is malware analysis. And they might start that and they get to do a lot of labs and they do a lot of training, but then they find themselves invariably in a different area of cybersecurity and like, you know what, I actually like this a lot. I wish I would have studied that a little bit more earlier. So if you're just starting out, just learn anything, learn anything and everything, and you'll find your path. You'll find what interests you long term.
Mm. And so talking about that, doing different things and all that, can you talk a bit about your nonprofit service?
Yeah, yeah. So today I serve on the board of my university, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, in within the College of Engineering. So I serve as the secretary. So that's where I bring one of my strengths, which is organization, typing, writing, that sort of thing, just to serve that community and give back to the university that really kickstarted my whole career.
Yeah, because there is, and I think people out here on the East Coast don't think of it much, but there is a pretty substantial military presence out there, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, we've got a couple of military installations there, Nellis Air Force Base and Creech Air
Hmm.
Force Base. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, So I don't know, do you have any, last, messages to give to the students here?
Reach out. I'd love to connect with you. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on any other social media. Maybe I should be, but definitely connect on LinkedIn and don't hesitate to reach out to me, ping me if you've got any questions. I love helping people if I can. Sometimes I can't, but I'll try. And then just it's a lot of fun as you start your career. It'll be a little stressful, but a lot of fun.
Great, great. Well, I don't see any more questions. Um, oh, we do. Okay, there we go. This is an interesting one. So the person inspired by your last story there, they're coming from the advertising industry. And they got hired recently for a tier one IT tech job. And they do expect that it's going to be, as you said, they're going to be working on a whole bunch of stuff. But, do you have advice for them kind of narrowing down some of those paths, looking for a career in IT security?
Yeah, I think that is a very natural progression into security, right? A lot of people start off in a tech support or a help desk type job, technical administrator, and that is an excellent place to start because you're going to learn so many things that are just instrumental and foundational to security. We've had at this organization I'm at now, PBS, and basically everywhere I've been, we always poach people from the help desk because it's just a really common place for people to start who don't have a lot of experience. And then once they demonstrate their expertise within the work that they're doing, there's invariably going to be opportunities where, hey, security needs another set of eyes. Like, is anybody interested in helping security out with this thing they're working on? And that's when you raise your hand and you just start to make it known that, yes, I have an interest, right? I wouldn't go in day zero and say, I want to do security because, right, you're not hired for that. So just maybe take it slow, um, focus on the job that you have now. But, after your 90 days, just say, hey, how's everything going? If they say it's going well, perfect. If there's any opportunities where I could do security as well, like let me know if the security team needs help, right? Just put it out there in the universe. Because if you never say it, they just might not know to give you those opportunities. But very natural progression. I think you're going in the right path and you're going to find opportunities eventually that are going to lead you into the security realm.
Great. Um, let's see, any other still, I will very slowly, unless there's any last words that you've got.
No, no, not right now.
Okay. All right. Well, Kendall, why don't you slowly bring us home to give that last person a chance to type something, but I don't see anything coming. So why don't you go ahead?
All right, thank you. Nope, it's just reminding everybody that the next module will be on September 10th from 1 to 2. Again, as I mentioned, we will have another guest speaker, which is always highly appreciated. And on that note, thank you so much, Jimmy. We very much appreciate your time today. It's wonderful hearing all the different things and all your background. And I hope that students feel a little bit more prepared to maybe fill out an SF-86. I just filled out mine actually a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago, and I will tell you it's pretty treacherous, not to scare any students, but he is correct that you really need to show major detail and really prepare yourself for that paperwork. So thank you again for everything, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Kendall. Thanks, Dr. Berger.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Great. Well, we will see you all again. Thank you for your time listening to professionals who've been through it. And Ms. Benoit has survived the SF-86. Kendall certainly is. She's had one before, and she's doing it again. Even when you do it again, it's still a process, but there is kind of a reward at the end of the tunnel. So stick with it, and we'll see most of you next month.